Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Ludicrous Feed live tonight. It's the 9th of February 2023. I'm your host, Tom, and welcome to tonight's show, which is, of course, let's pop it up here on the screen here for you. EV charging etiquette. Oop, this way. EV charging etiquette in Australia in 2023. And yes, it is an important topic, I think, given the number of cars or number of electric cars that are hitting the Australian market this year and beyond. So, with limited resources, I think now is a good time to, refresh unspoken rules around EV charging. It's not just for newbies; it's for everyone, myself included. I want to learn what is the etiquette, what is the the accepted trend around EV charging, and the courtesy that goes with it in 2023. All right, let's say hello to our regular guests tonight. Of course, as usual, we have our good friends Riz and Rahul. Hello, Riz. How are you?
Yeah, going well, Tom. Hey, Rahul.
Oh,
Evening,
hey, Rahul.
gents.
Hey,
I'm
there he
here.
is.
I'm here.
Never fear, Rahul is here, and so is Riz. Have you both had a good week this week?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's very exciting. Couple of new cars, details of them announced today. Yeah, good to see.
Yeah, we've had some
Yeah.
great weather in Melbourne, Tom, so we can't complain.
Yeah, good. Well, it's been raining here in Sydney, but no, shower's always a blessing, of course, as they say. It's been good. No, we've really enjoyed the weather so far this summer. And look, I've been enjoying seeing all the electric cars around in Sydney anyway, and I'm sure you guys have as well in Melbourne or your neck of the woods. Hello to everyone watching tonight live as well. Make sure you leave a comment. We've got 69 viewers already in watching live, so that's great. A good number as well. And also, if you're watching on replay, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And also watching or listening on podcast as well. Thanks so much for listening. There's a poll tonight, of course. The poll tonight is: if a queue forms at a DC station while you're charging, when do you finish your session? That's, I guess, more of a gauge on where the etiquette is around charging stations, of course, given tonight's topic. Option 1 is 80%. Option 2 is 90%. Option 3 is enough for my next stop. And option 4, they can wait. I paid for this. I guess I'll throw it out to our guests, Riz and Rahul. Let's start with Rahul. Of those 4 options, which one would you be leaning towards?
Okay, so look, I think it depends how big the queue is. If it's a holiday season, like if there's one car waiting, and if I'm going to be doing a long trip, which has happened to me, charging the night before we started our trip to Sydney, I wanted to charge at 100%, and somebody was like waiting for the charge. I was like, hey, yeah, I am paying for this, so I want to charge to 100% because I am traveling interstate. But yeah, if you're charging, on a regular basis, and there is a queue, it's a holiday season, you charge. I would suggest, and which is what I've put in the poll, I would charge up to what I think I need for my next destination and move on. Yeah, if there's 5+ cars waiting, there's no point in prolonging that session and making people wait.
Yep.
What do you think, Riz?
Yeah, very sage advice there, Rahul. Yeah, Riz, what do you reckon?
Look, I think the right thing to do is sort of, depending on what car you're driving as well, and what sort of chargers you have access to. With Teslas, obviously, you've got access to a lot more different types of chargers, and you have more options as well. I generally charge as much as I sort of need till the next charger, but then again, you sort of want to leave some contingencies there as well. I think if you're driving anything that's a non-Tesla, you sort of are not sure whether the charger you're heading to may or may not be occupied, may or may not be broken. So sometimes it's good to sort of be on the safe side, especially if there's not a huge queue behind you. But yeah, try and charge as much as you sort of need until you make it to the next stop.
Yeah, no, that's good, Riz. That's great advice as well. Look, I think you made a good point there. It's kind of Tesla versus non-Tesla again, right? Teslas have access to supercharger network, as we know, with an exception of maybe 5. Non-Teslas cannot access them at the moment. That is changing. But generally, during busy periods, Tesla will limit your charge rate to 80% anyway at a lot of the busy charging stalls. So you cannot top up I think in the past you could actually raise a limit and override it, and I haven't done a supercharger recently. But I think that's a good thing. In busy periods, 80% people are waiting. I think that's a courteous thing to do. For me personally, between those four options, I would either lean towards enough for my next stop or 80%. I try not to drive too far that I need more than 80% of my battery anyway, just for safety reasons currently. So yeah, I think that's probably and I think a lot of people agree with me there. 58% of you have said so far enough for my next stop. So we'll see what the rest of the crowd select tonight. And a shout out there from Jez Kemp for Riz here. Riz, no way is that a little Tesla thingy on your left shoulder. Electric dreams do come true. Riz, look at that. Good tonight.
Look, I had to siphon some funds via NFTs through Tom's Garage fund that Jez has been funding for a while now. So, so far I've only gotten 0.2 of an NFT, and that's all I could buy. I'm waiting for my Dogecoin to come as well.
Speaking of funding, I just want to quickly plug our partners for tonight, who are driva.com.au. They're a relatively new partner to the channel, and they're essentially a fintech company specializing in EV loans. So if you are, I guess, waiting for an EV or a Tesla and you need some funds, then I think this is certainly worth a try. I'll be honest, this is a new partner, so I don't have any feedback yet from real viewers, only reviews online. They seem to be quite positive. Essentially, they're a mortgage broker for personal loans like car loans, and they source a whole bunch of lenders. Pick one that's good for you, show you all the different rates and things, and then it's apparently quite easy to sign up and get an EV loan. So if you are looking for finance for your car, then check out driva.com.au. I'll leave a link to my personal referral in the video description below for you guys to check out. So thank you very much, driva.com.au. All right, let's move on with tonight's topic. Yes, if you've just joined us, yes, it is about EV charging etiquette in Australia. Don't forget to look at the poll. The question tonight is, if a queue forms at a DC charging station while you're charging, when do you finish your session? 80%, 90%, enough for my next stop, or they can wait, I paid for this. All right, so pick one away. And Charles Gregory, one of our members tonight, he said, for me, it's as much as I need to get to the next charger after the next one. Oh, okay. In case it's not working. All right. So he's actually doubled up on the contingency there. Yeah. So really, Charles, that could potentially push you up to 100% if you are worried about the next one too, just in case that one's not working. Yeah. Okay. That's good. I guess everyone's got their different tolerance with regards to charger anxiety, right? Some people are happy to travel a bit lower. Some people need that extra charge. Raul, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I did, Tom. I haven't noticed that 80% charge limit here in Australia at Tesla superchargers. Somebody in the comment section or yourself or Riz could clarify that for me, which is a great idea. Obviously when I did my US trip last year in Feb March, I did notice that, and it wasn't just during the holiday period. It was in normal peak period times. You were only able to charge up to 80%, given the proliferation of EV and Tesla in the US markets there. The other thing I just wanted to mention quickly also is it doesn't hurt to check with people who are waiting if they come up to you if you're in your car, because I've had this done to me before where a lady came up to me and said, "Excuse me, how long are you going to be?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm charging up to like this amount or whatever." And she's like, "Oh, look, I'm really desperate because I've driven from interstate or I'm traveling to Adelaide. It's going to I'm down to like 1% or 5% or whatever." And I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't mind unplugging because I don't need to go to 100% or 90% or 80%. So it always helps to just have that conversation with somebody waiting. Thoughts, gentlemen?
It's interesting. I mean, you're right that it's always good to sort of get a feel of who's there, and maybe somebody needs it, somebody maybe running behind on something, trying to get to places. I've been in situations where, as we dropped the bombshell last week that I don't road trip, but I've been in situations where come to a charger. There was a lady a couple of months ago waiting charging at a charger in her Mercedes, and I pulled up. I said, "Hey, how long will you be?" Or just to get an idea so that I'm not hanging around there for an hour or so. And she's, her response was, "I just got here." And I said, okay, is it half an hour or so? She's like, I just got here. I'll stay here as long as I need to. And I said, well, that's okay. No worries. I just moved on. But I guess it depends on, the situation. And sometimes maybe people are having a bad day and that sort of encounter can't go really well. But at other times, I'm sure 95% of EV drivers are pretty happy to let you know, hey, if you need something, then happy to help out.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, Riz. Some people might find that confrontational if someone comes up to the window and taps on it and says, hey, how long will you be, right? So, like you said, some people might be having a bad day. Some people aren't used to that kind of banter that we sometimes have at EV charging stations. I guess I can only control what I can control. And I try to generally, if someone's coming up, I'll sort of try and make eye contact and say, look, I'm going to be in 5 minutes more, 10 minutes more, give them an idea. So that's what I try to do. But it would be nice if there was a bit more conversation around, because short of, I'll just put this comment up here. Where is it? I just saw before. Here we go. Brenton Chappell said, it would be awesome to have a large display on the top of the charger to show the remaining charge time for that charger. Could help others dictate or know how long the wait is. I think a lot of the tritium chargers do actually show you the current state of charge of the car. So from there, you can probably gauge how long you've got left. The superchargers, not so much, but I know the tritiums do. So that's, I guess that's one benefit of having a tritium. Now, Peter Cook, one of our members, is also an Uber driver. He drives a lot and charges a lot. He says the 80% limit at superchargers is a soft cap. It drops the charge goal to 80%, but it lets you change it back up again if you need it. So that's good to know, Peter. Thank you very much. He's not seen a hard cap at a supercharger of late. It's great. And I want to thank Faisal, who's also just become a YouTube member as well. Thank you, Faisal. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And Charles says Chem Power chargers have columns of indicator lights on the site that show the state of charge of the connected car. Handy for quickly guessing who will be finished sooner. That's great. Yep.
I see the pun Charles used there, being Chem Power from Finland, finished sooner.
Nice. Thanks, Charles. And thank you, Riz, for pointing that out. Hashtag joke explainer. I love it. It's good. Yeah, let's see if there's any other comments here. Let's see. I know we've done a lot of road trips, a lot of members and viewers over the last few months, obviously, being summer. Here we go. So, Chris, another way to look at it is if you are driving a Tesla from, for instance, Melbourne to Sydney, you should never need more than 80% charge in any Tesla model. Non-Teslas are a different story, as we've said before as well. Yeah, I think between Melbourne and Sydney, and even between Sydney and Brisbane, you really shouldn't need more than 80% between charging sites. They're quite good now on the East Coast. Of course, the issue with non-Tesla DC chargers is that the reliability issue comes in, right? Had quite a bit of feedback on my recent BYD road trip video where people were saying, why did you top up so much to 100%? Well, again, it goes back to what Charles was saying about reliability. I was concerned about having come to a broken charger. Then what do I do if I turn up with 10 to 20%? So at those kind of charges, I was happy to top up to higher than 80% because no one was waiting. So again, if someone's waiting, then I'd probably pull out and move on from there. Yeah, let's look at the poll now. So 76 votes so far, and half of you, 50%, are saying enough for my next stop, and now 33% of you are saying 80%. If someone's waiting for you, when do you finish your session? The next question I want to pose to all of you too is also what is an acceptable idle time? So what I mean by that is, you've got your car sitting at a charging spot, you've topped up to what you need, say 80%, and I'm not talking about Tesla superchargers here, which have an idle fee, but if you're at a non-Tesla DC charger, how long is an acceptable time before you return to your car to move that vehicle? Let's throw it to, I guess, Riz, what's kind of your time frame there out of courtesy?
That's a pretty interesting question because, driving a couple of different EVs around that are non-Teslas, apps are non-existent. You generally don't know what your percentage is. Even apps, I believe, like ChargeFox, don't really show you, like they show you how much has been added to your vehicle's battery, but they don't show you what percentage your vehicle's battery is at. But if it is finished, then generally speaking, like you sort of go with the mindset, if you see another person when you plug in, you generally hang around the car or try and be a bit more mindful and get before you think it's going to finish. Whereas if there's nobody there, then I don't know, 5 minutes or so after your car's fully topped up, that's acceptable. You're on mute, Tom, or you were?
Sorry, Raul, what are your thoughts? Thanks, Riz.
Riz, great point. And Tom, great question. I look at it from my own personal point of view, having 2 kids. And yeah, look, it's a difficult one, but unfortunately, or this is my situation. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 10-month-old. I can't wait and sit in the car with 2 young kids for 30 minutes while I'm charging. I have to get out of the car. But what we've tried to do on our road trips is actually leave a piece of paper in block letters with Sharpie pen sort of details on it with, hey, this is my name. This is a contact number if you need the charger. Or if I finish charging and I'm not there in 5 minutes, you can contact me. Obviously, log into PlugShare and leave your details on PlugShare as well, so they do know when you're going to finish charging. I did notice on my trip to Sydney via Victoria, via New South Wales, there's a lot of people who weren't using PlugShare, which makes it frustrating for me not knowing when this person's going to be finished. But in terms of idle time, I think, honestly, despite having kids, no more than 5 minutes. I guess with Tesla, you get a notification in your app, hey, your charging session is going to end soon. You're going to be charged idle fees. I do not know what it's like with other with other EV cars and charges, whether they do give you a notification or not. So yeah, but 5 minutes max for me. Leave a note on your windscreen so people do know how to contact you as well, and log into PlugShare as well. Leave a notification so people can contact you.
Yep, no, that's a good point, Raul. And Rizzy, I both agree with you. I think 5 minutes for me, I would that's how about how long I would want to leave my car on idle. What I personally do and did during this road trip was, because I was driving a non-Tesla, I didn't have an app except for the ChargeFox app or EV app, which is handy, but it doesn't alert you to you've got 5 minutes to go before you finish, or even alert you you're getting close to your top up max limit. What I did was actually put a timer on my phone, say, set timer for 25 minutes. So I'm not constantly checking the app. Then I would sit down, have a meal or whatever, walk around, and then boom, 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 the alarm goes off. Then I would walk back and make sure it's all good. Just a side point too, actually, I was glad I checked earlier, because for some reason the charger wasn't charging even though it was plugged in. So that was really frustrating. So it might work against you. It's probably worth checking in these third-party chargers to make sure they are charging, given the reliability of some of these too. So yeah, I reckon 5 minutes. Look, I do understand if I rock up to a charger and there's a car waiting there, I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. As you said, Raul, there might be young children involved. They've got to rush to the bathroom or whatever. But I think anything more than that 10 to 15, I'd start to go, what's taking so long? And you're not aware that your car is here. I don't think it's cool to be past that kind of period of time. Again, I've got a pretty high tolerance. Like, there might be an emergency that I'm not aware of, so I'm not going to get too upset at this point in time. I've got a comment here that, where was it? I saw earlier. Here we go. Chris, again, speaking of etiquette, I saw a Model Y at EV Southern Forest at 100% in a bay sitting there for 30 minutes. You can read the EV charger for the current capacity. Luckily, it wasn't busy. And again, look, it might be, I might speaking out of turn here, but in a Tesla, it's almost no excuse. You've got the app there. You can check it quite regularly. So whether it's a new person who doesn't understand, or whether it's just out of ignorance, I don't know. Gents, how would you react to this if you saw this?
I think on that day, Macca's had good specials on their app, so they weren't using the Tesla app at that Southern Forest where there's Macca's around the corner. But yeah, generally speaking, I mean, all you can do is leave a note for them so they're a bit mindful for next time that, hey, there's others waiting as well. I mean, obviously be kind about it, but depending on what sort of urgency you're in as well. So at Southern Forest, it's a bit hard because, even with the new, there's 4 chargers, I believe, there now, and 2 came online and then went offline. So a bit hard to know, but you do the right thing. And maybe, part of it is, us EV owners to educate some of the newer ones. And we know Model Ys are relatively new, and not everyone would know what to do.
Yep. Rahul, would you agree with that?
Yeah, look, I'm not a massive fan of, especially a Tesla, sitting there for 30 minutes. I think regardless of the fact that it may or may not be peak season, holiday season, peak charging times, somebody's always wanting to use a charger. Waiting 30 plus minutes for a car that's sitting at 100% is just not acceptable in my book. I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, gents. I think I'm just going to say it now categorically. If you're a new Tesla owner or a new EV owner, these charging spots are not a parking spot for you. It's not your right to sit there idle, plugged in or otherwise. It's a charging spot for people to charge their vehicles. So don't be one of those people who park there and think they can go shopping for hours or watch a movie or go to a play or whatever. They really are for charging. Otherwise, you're no better than a nice car. I'm sorry. So just going to put it out there. Matthew Pettigrove, don't have an EV just yet, but what happens when you rock up, all stalls are full and people are waiting? Are those people waiting being respectful, or on who goes next? It's not like a deli with a number keeping order. That's actually a really good point. I've considered that actually. How do we know who's next?
I think that's a great point there, Tom. And Louise also mentioned it as well. She said at Thrumster, New South Wales, there are only 2 spots with NRMA and difficult to know who is next in line. And I was going to ask this question as well. How do you know amongst, say 5, 6, 7, 10 cars waiting, who's next in line? Riz, Tom?
Yeah, that's a bit hard. I guess it's sort of figuring out which order you're in and asking others who was first. Maybe that's one way of doing it. But I guess it goes back to that other point we were talking about, just, communicating with others, waiting or charging. Sometimes situations can turn a little bit hostile, but most of the time it's pretty friendly. I think the answer is for Tesla to do what they're doing. Multiple stalls, reliability, can see it through the app, know how busy it is, controlling the charge rate being delivered to cars. All of those type of things I think are a little bit better than what we have today, which is 1 charger or 2 chargers at best on a public charging site. And then it's just communicating with others, in my experience.
Yeah, and I agree, gents. I don't have a good answer for this. Short of the Tesla app or your EV app monitoring all the vehicles, I don't know. I don't think there's any way to communicate unless you get out and actually talk to someone and say, hey, he or she was next, and so on and so forth. I think that's really the only way. Old-fashioned, just opening your mouth and chatting with someone at this stage. Maybe we should have services where people hand out tickets like at the deli or at the bank. That'd be quite funny. Good question from Faisal. When does the idle fee charge start? I did get a notification around 92%. So I assume Faisal's talking about the Tesla app. So it's generally, if there's more than 50% of vehicles occupying those stalls, then the idle fees start to kick in. At 50%, it's 50 cents per minute waiting time after 5 minutes of idle time. Does that sound right? Yeah, I hope that makes sense. If all stalls are full, then that ramps up to $1 a minute. So I think that's a fair system. I'd like to see that actually implemented across all third-party chargers, not just Tesla. I think that should help stop people sitting there and just camping for EVs anyway. I think that's the way to go. Peter Cook says EV and BP will fire off multiple notifications in-app on SMS. Okay, that's true. Actually, they do fire off when it's getting close. So no reason not to know. Thank you, Peter. Okay, so yes, Gaffer says there is another app called Need to Charge. Handy if people use it. See, this is the problem with apps like this, Need to Charge, PlugShare. It does rely on people using it. Someone did say in one of my videos, we don't want to be using PlugShare when this hits mainstream big time. Do we really want people using PlugShare? It should be with like petrol, where there's plenty of chargers around, so there's no problem. Obviously, in an ideal world, that would be the case, right? But for now, I think it'd be nice to use PlugShare in this stage. So there's Louise's comment that Raul was referring to. There are only 2 spots within RMA. Difficult to know who is next in line. So true. Greg says, not always possible, but I try and time my charges out of hours on road trips. Yep, another strategy. I will head down later at night, slow charge at hotel, or get up early. Never had an issue. Yeah, I've considered this, Greg, and sure, if you're like doing a short trip, no problem. But consider this: if everyone starts their journey from Sydney and Melbourne at the same time, what's going to happen? Everyone's going to meet at Albury or Gundagai, right? So there's going to be a bit of a log jam in the middle of the day at those kind of busy sites.
I think there may be a solution to that. This week we found out that basically anyone can get a charging spot at an Ampol site now. Now that they're charging people, you need to get a mortgage before you can have a charge at an Ampol site. You can always find one. Unfortunately, they're not really on the way to places. So
That's right.
when they do roll out 120 sites, 115 to go for 2023, that was their plan. Then maybe we'll have more options along the highways.
Yeah, there has been a price rise, hasn't there, Riz? I can't remember exactly how much.
15%. They've gone from 60 to 69 cents, which is okay if you were getting reasonable speeds. But I think most Tesla drivers anyway, because of the 400-volt architecture, are getting less than 80 kilowatts. And the locations as well. Like if the network was comprehensive enough, as their plans suggest, with arena funding of 120 charges by the end of 2023, then it would be all right to have their app on the phone. But at this stage, increasing prices without and I think people didn't even get notified. Like, it was just in PlugShare in some of their sites. They've just left a note saying now the price will be 69 cents. Whereas EV, when they increased their prices, they sent everybody an email to say it's gone from 40 to 45 cents. So yeah, expensive charges may be available to more people.
Well, pay to win, right? Or pay to charge in this case. Look, I kind of want to pit Ampol against BP. It seems like BP are quietly putting more charges in, and in quite relevant locations too along the highways. So Ampol, what's happening? It seemed so promising last year when you rolled out your first few. I don't know. It's kind of stopped, hasn't it? Haven't seen too many more. Yeah. So Charles Gregory again says, I think the challenging thing is we're moving from early adopters to mainstream. We're moving into the era where sadly EV owners don't want to get out and chat about charging. How sad. Yes, it is sad, isn't it? They just want to get on with their lives. Not like us. We're just excited to be there. Look, that's fair. Look, not everybody is excited about EVs. It's just another form of transportation to someone. That's fair as well. We do want EVs to become mainstream, and I think the answer is just more chargers, right, at the end of the day. Jim says, forget road rage, we'll get charger rage. I hope not. I don't want to see any violence at these charging sites.
That's going to be trouble. What happens when you rock up to on Australia Day when it's really busy to a fast charger in Cronulla? Things can go haywire. So charger rage is about to get real. Hopefully we'll have a lot more chargers. I think that the grand scheme of things, with Tesla opening their charging network up to, pretty much anyone and everyone, hopefully by the end of this year, and them rolling out, such as that Benalla site that was announced as well, 20 stalls when it's completed in 2 stages. I think Charles was one of the first people to spot something when that sort of news became quite public. Really, really good to see that it's, that Tesla's thinking big. And that just means that we'll have more options whether you drive a Tesla or not.
That's so true. Look, I think it's just courtesy. Just exercise courtesy, exercise patience. Let's get to our destination safely. Faisal says, I put the time on a scratch pad. That reminds me, I generally try to put on PlugShare how much time I've got left. I've got, say 20 minutes to go. I'll be at Macca's or I'll be at the cafe or whatever, down at the park with the kids. Something like that, right? Just if they are using PlugShare, which they don't always, of course. And Peter says, yep, negotiation gets good outcomes. It's very true. Come out and chat. One time at NRMA Mittagong, I let someone cut in when she only needed 5 minutes to get home in a Leaf and trickle charge, whereas I hoped for a solid charge in my SR Plus. That's very nice of you, Peter. And again, some courtesy exercise there. That's great. Quick update on tonight's poll. If a queue forms at a DC station while you're charging, when do you finish your session? It looks like enough for my next stop is still leading at 49%, and the next highest is 80%. And 8% between 90%, and they can wait. I paid for this. So, yeah, it looks like enough for my next stop is winning at the moment. It's good. Yep, Chris, is anyone aware of any DC fast charger having idle fees apart from Tesla? That is the solution. I agree. If anyone knows, not that I've come across it so far.
I believe most of them do have functionality, like most of these chargers would have that, because in some parts of the world, it would just be a requirement, right? Like in Europe and other places where once upon a time there weren't that many chargers and more EVs, then surely it's the right thing to do to have some level of idle fees. Operators like EV and ChargeFox can initiate those things, but yeah, it's I'm not aware of any at the moment apart from Tesla.
No. If anyone knows, yeah, please leave a comment. So yeah, Rowan says, I guess next in line is proximity park spot to charger. Seems to work on Queensland Electric Superhighway. That's true. That's true if there's plenty of room. Sometimes there isn't though, especially at a busy charger. For example, if you're like, I think, let's say you're in a shopping centre car park, right? Say Macquarie or Broadway here in Sydney. You're going to block someone if you're queuing up for a charger. There isn't always sometimes a spot nearby. So I can foresee issues there with parking nearby. Obviously, in an ideal world, that'd be the best solution for sure. Faisal says, I would be reluctant to share my contact details and rego with any service like Need to Charge, considering what's going on with customer data. That's also true. Not everybody wants to share their phone number. Very true.
Some people do share that on PlugShare. So I've seen some comments at certain sites if you need this charger, but generally they're quite isolated sort of locations where, sometimes that can happen. But at the same time, those comments just stay on PlugShare as well. So if you're comfortable with it, cool. But yeah, most people are quite concerned about their data and their numbers.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair call.
I was going to say quickly also, gentlemen, that in most of the times that I have used superchargers or the fast chargers or ultra fast chargers along some of those, the big busy routes, I've never had to wait longer than 15, 20 minutes. Case in example, just recently traveled to Maui on the way to New South Wales, South Coast. I think we plugged in, we probably had, 20, 30%, went up to 80%, and we were like done in 15 minutes. We literally just got to KFC, gone to the bathroom, come out, and we're like ordering food. And it's like your charging is nearly complete.
Yeah.
The wait times obviously are not that huge, even at peak times. It does give you a buffer as well.
And that's the beauty of the Tesla supercharging stations. They've 6, 8, 10, they just rotate so quickly. People just move.
Correct.
So I agree, Raul. I've never personally waited that much longer for a charge, but I haven't actually driven on those really busy periods. Maybe that's worth a video, right? Going out on like Good Friday or something, or Boxing Day, and just seeing what actually happens and documenting that. Mark says, tell me if I'm dreaming, but couldn't the Tesla app assign you a queue number as cars are navigating towards a supercharging location? Yep. Wouldn't that be great if it was locked to your car, right? So if someone tries to plug in, they can't because you're next. Hey, it's possible, I'm sure. Joe says, Tesla owners, please turn on charging complete notification in the app so you know charging is finished and can move the car for others. Also true. But I'm sure you'll also get a notification for idle fees too. So another incentive to move your car for sure. Graham brings up a great point. How do you respond to an ignorant ICE driver parking in an EV charging spot because all the other car parking is full? Tough one, Graham. Really tough one. It's an age-old question now since EVs were around, right? How do you ask an ICE driver to move on? Anyone have any success in the chat?
Usually I'll just ask them, do you need to charge? And then they generally feel bad enough and they'll reverse out and go.
Wow. Okay. Magic powers, Riz.
They only work in some places.
Yeah. Raul, any success asking an ICE driver to move?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Look, generally the car's obviously parked there, the owner's not in there. But I look at it this way, is obviously there's no other parking spots. They're probably desperate and they've parked their car. They're thinking they're only going to be 5-10 minutes or whatever. I understand that. I think what really drives me mad And I try not to get mad too often, obviously, because I've got 2 kids. I don't want them to follow in that kind of behavior. But when an EV is actually parked, which is what you mentioned before, Tom, that really, really gets me annoyed. Why would an EV driver park in an EV charging spot knowing that's only for charging? That's my biggest issue.
Yep. Pet peeve of mine as well, Raul. Look, even to the point where if I rock up to an EV charger and it's broken, I won't park there, even though it's a free spot, because someone's going to judge me. Like, why is this guy parked here? It's not even plugged in, right? So I don't even do that.
Great point.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next point, actually. Is it cool to snap someone doing that on face and place it on Facebook or social media with their plates showing? What's the legalities around that?
Ooh.
Any lawyers out there?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, definitely. With, I guess, personal info showing. I have. Look, I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be honest. There have been times when, there's been a single occasion when I have parked somewhere, but my daughter needed to go to the bathroom, and we had to wait for the kids' toilets to become free at the shopping center. Came back, and there was a note on my car saying, "Hey, we were plugged in, but we had finished charging, but I was about 10 minutes late." I came back, there was a note on my car, which wasn't very complimentary. And my daughter was asking me about this note. And I was like, hey, what the person who's put this note doesn't understand what I've just gone through with my daughter. It was like, hey, you either take me to a toilet or I'm going to pee in my pants. So yeah, but yeah, sharing personal information or personal register details are not okay by me. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, I don't mind if you do it, but below the plates. But again, I don't know. It kind of goes against the spirit of things, right? We're not here to dob each other in. Sure, it's annoying, but again, like Raul, it might have been a Raul situation where they had to go somewhere, medical emergency, kid needed to pee. I don't know, something else. Like there's got to be a reason, right?
Kids always need to pee. Why is that? I don't get it. At the most inconvenient times.
They're small. They're small bladders. Again, it comes to the point, bladder range, right? I mean, I get comments on the videos like, yeah, sure, I can drive from Sydney to Melbourne, with my hand down the window holding a kebab and stopping once. Like, I can't do that. My kids can't do that. So if you can't do that, then you don't mind stopping for 20 minutes at a time to relieve yourself every couple of hours, right? So, yeah, sure.
I don't think I can drive for 4 hours straight or 5 hours straight with my kid constantly every 10 minutes going, are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Yep. Mental health break, right? Question from for Riz and Rahul from Charles. Are you looking forward to the 20-stall supercharger at Benalla in Northwest Victoria?
Yes. I'm trying to, it's only been a couple of days, I think 2 days since the news broke. I'm already trying to organize a Toka event up there. So yeah, for the Victorian members of our audience, you're a Tesla owner or not, when it is sort of when we do end up organizing it, when we know a little bit more about it, then yeah, everyone's invited for a drive up.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good chance for a road trip,
Looking
Riz.
forward to it.
Yeah,
when
sorry,
when
first
is
time.
that due to be ready, gentlemen? Do we know?
Charles may know more. I've no details. Apparently, it's still at the consultation stage with the council up there. So it's quite interesting, some of the descriptions and things that are included in that consultation sort of entry that council has, and Tesla, I guess, trying to sell the reasons why this charging site needs to be there. Yeah, quite interesting to see how they talk about encouraging tourism and a whole lot of other things. It doesn't look like something that the council would have written. So it definitely looks like something that, comes in from here's why it's important. And the best part in that is it says it will be designed, constructed, and commissioned fully by Tesla. There's no arena money. There's nothing else like that. So they openly say that as well, which is quite good to see.
Okay, good to know. Gaffer says, I talk to those charging all the time, really enjoy it, except the neighbours at the NRMA will and gone complain about us chatting all night. That is one downside of friendliness. Thanks, Gaffer. Good question. A good point here from 12345 AXB. One answer to congestion is Uber style pricing. Now, I know in the US they actually do have more dynamic pricing during peak periods, and there's actually probably provision for that as well in Australia, but I haven't seen too much variation at this stage for Tesla charging. So I think that is coming for sure. So that peak pricing model. Yep. Yep. Surge pricing. Yep. Good point. Thank you. Let's see. Is there ever supercharging anxiety? I.e., will it be out of order? Again, I can categorically say no. No, I've never had supercharger anxiety. I'm sure, gents, you haven't either with superchargers. Pretty reliable, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if this person is referring to Tesla superchargers, I've never had an issue. But if he's referring to some of the other brand, we're not going to name them, but there has been fast charger anxiety because some of these chargers have been out of action for quite some time, or you turn up and they're not working, which is Riz.
Multiple stalls always help. For non-Tesla fast chargers, dual CCS ports help sometimes reduce that charger anxiety, especially if there's only one charger there. Having an AC backup that a lot of the chargers as part of the Queensland Electric Superhighway have. That's a great idea. I don't know why it's not implemented. I've spoken to James, who we've had on the show before from Eon Charge, who installs these chargers, and he had a good point where he was saying, well, even if the charging site has one fast charger, in an ideal world, you wouldn't need a slow charger because the charger would always be working. But the stage that we're at the moment is we sort of do need it so we don't have as much charger anxiety at the public charging sites.
Yep. In an ideal world, yeah, you wouldn't need that because of that reason, for sure. Let's roll through some of these comments. We asked questions earlier about how to get rid of ICE vehicles sitting in EV spots. Gaffer, I was waiting to turn into the one free charging spot one time and watch the ICE car ahead stop and try to back in. I just sat on the horn. He moved on. Hey, well done, Gaffer. Good stuff. Faisal says, I saw someone parking in Chadstone where the spot said Tesla only, though chargers aren't installed yet. So I just looked at him for a few seconds. Ooh, the stare.
Oh,
it's always good. Peter says, you're in a public place. Photography is perfectly legal. Okay, so that's interesting. Yep, thank you, Peter. Gaffer says, never show the plates, not worth the aggravation. Yeah, also true. Yep. Snip says, poll answer will change as infrastructure builds out. Once there's sufficient saturation of working chargers, I'll charge until I choose to finish. Yeah, absolutely valid there, Snip, for sure. One day when there's adequate, do whatever you want. But I think for now, with finite resources, we've got to consider these things, don't we, at this stage? Gary, everyone, remember, if you're interacting with people at chargers, that plug share is not mandatory. Some are militant about its use. Again, some courtesy there. It's not mandatory at all. More people saying it's legal to take photos. It's in public. Yep. Okay. Here you go, Charles. Plug share is good for getting a general trend. It's not all recording 100% of usage. Yep, very true. A good point from Gaffer. Never touch someone else's EVs if they're not plugged in either. I also agree. Never touch another person's car. That's just not cool. Jim Donaldson says old men need to pee as well. Thank you, Jim. Yep. I like to think younger men like myself also need to pee. So thank you. And it's amazing that these EV charge stations don't have queues, reservations, and assigned bays to improve throughput. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so Greg about Benalla. Hopefully locals don't get too angry. City EV drivers are taking 20 spots. Gents, is this in a busy spot, this new Benalla charger?
I've actually never been through that little town yet, but from what I can understand, there's a Woolworths and a couple of other fast food restaurants not far from there. Could possibly be, and maybe, I guess the residents can have their say at the moment as well around how many parking bays and stuff that sort of needs to be transitioning towards charging bays.
Because if you can organize a token drive and people are going to turn up at these charges, they're also going to drive business into Benalla as well. I guess as long as you're driving business into town, the locals are always happy to have visitors. And you know what? The kids there are always going to love Teslas. When have we never heard, or when have we not heard a kid say, "Hey, there's a Tesla"?
Yeah, that's true. You can even see them mouthing as you pass them. Like kind of that, wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Makes you feel good. Charles says surge pricing would drive away those who are convenience charging, but it's not fair for those who are doing a long trip and need to use the charger. Yeah, I guess again, it's like, well, if it's high, then they'll stop convenience charging and hopefully they'll drive the price down too. So I think it's not a bad option, that surge pricing. Am I giving ideas to third-party chargers like EV or ChargeFox or Ampol or DP? Maybe I don't mind. I don't mind if it's going to help reduce queues personally. It's just my opinion. Daniel says, I'm glad to see most kind hearts on the poll. Yes, so am I actually. For me, why waste yours and others' precious time when it's enough to proceed? So true, Daniel. Thank you. So true. Charles saying, comments from people online saying that it's the back part of the car park which is less commonly used. Yeah, also good. I don't mind these EV chargers in the back of car parks, actually. I should take that back. I've got 2 legs. I can walk. I also appreciate if you need accessible access, then it might be more difficult. But again, the majority of people can walk from the back of a car park, which is why my videos, I tend to look for them at the back of car parks because I think that's where they should be. So yeah, fair enough. All right, Gaffer says, if I could get you to do a public service announcement to anyone from the Illawarra listening, help the council out with its EV charging infrastructure policy. Okay, I will do that, Gaffer. There you go. I guess they're looking for feedback from the community about that. So yeah, if anyone in the Wollongong Illawarra region, jump on and let them know what you think.
Nash.
Send out an SOS to Nash.
Nash will tell Elon, and Elon will tell Illawarra. So there you go. Greg says most US superchargers have 3 tiers of price depending on time. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Now let's just go through some of today's slides. Now we've got a bit of a break in the comments. So gents, I need your help deciphering some of these articles from this week. Let's see. All right, so yeah, latest Cybertruck sighting has updated triangular mirrors. What changes can you spot? I think the other thing was also a long bar red brake light as well, the back.
Which I think Elon confirmed would go into production.
Cool.
Yeah,
I don't mind the pointy mirrors. Kind of matches the pointy roof, so I can see why they did it.
And the word is that they may be removable.
No way.
Yeah,
Removable.
apparently removable mirrors, because I believe that in some parts of the world you definitely need physical mirrors. But then Tom, a lot of the members of the audience have also seen your videos with the Genesis GV60 that has the cameras instead, which I think the new top of the range Ioniq 5 in Australia now, the Epic edition, also has that. So, and the new Ioniq 6, which has just been announced this week with the pricing and everything. So it's a requirement in some places, but yeah, triangle looks cool. If it's removable, even better. But once it's on, I don't think I'll remove it. But
Yep. I speaking of Ioniq 5 rigs, I'm actually taking a loan of one tomorrow for a week. So watch out for those videos coming soon. And I also hear the Ioniq 6 will be launched. No, sorry, I'm confusing this with the MG4, going to be launched at fully charged live later this year. So look out for that one. And next slide is, yes, not to be taken away from the Cybertruck sighting, but Project Highland Model 3. There you go. Sort of semi-camouflage there on US roads. I also heard a little rumor that the lift gate might be, the back, the boot cover might actually be a lift gate, not a sedan boot opening.
Ooh.
So if that's the case,
Tom, if you can just go back and tell us what Project Highland is for some of the benefit of the viewers, please.
Yeah, I think Riz might know better about Project Highland. Go ahead, Riz.
Well, it's an upgraded Model 3 from what we can see. It's got, what we understand is there is a few things that Tesla doesn't want the public to know just yet. One of them is something to do with this high definition radar at the front of the car. And then there is speculation around whether hardware 4, which is the higher definition cameras and better computer and all the rest of it, are part of this redesign as well. It's definitely a Model 3 project. Maybe there is manufacturing efficiencies that Model Y has that Tesla wants to achieve in the Model 3 as well. So it will be cost less for Tesla to produce, and more than likely be sort of the next generation of what the Model 3 is today.
And just from a practicality point of view, I'll keep going back to the lift gate, but having a lift gate for a Model 3 makes it like that just so much better. So yeah, I'd love to see that. And yeah, having a Model 3 like that. Yeah, speaking of MG4, there we go. So we were just chatting about this. We'll debut at Fully Charged Live in Sydney on March 11 to 12. No pricing or specs yet ahead of mid-2023 launch, but we're expecting to become more affordable. Another affordable EV choice. That's Tom Baker from Chasing Cars there. So yeah, that should be good to see at Fully Charged later this year. And also, Xpeng, the Chinese brand Xpeng, has launched G9 and P7 in Europe. That's great to see. More choice there in Europe. Hopefully they'll come to Australia as well. There are the prices there in their local currency. Yeah, not a bad looking car, really. So a little sedan and also a SUV type vehicle. And also tomorrow, and no, it's not tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday this weekend, NRMA is hosting another EV Drive Day in Western Sydney. If you're out this way at the Sydney Motorsport Park, I will be there on Saturday morning if anybody wants to come and say hello. Just check out what's going on there. So great chance if you want to learn more about EVs. They've got test drives and so on. Good chance to check out NRMA EV Drive Day. And the last event, of course, is Fully Charged Live. We talked about this many times today, 11th to 12th of March, 2023. All three of us will be there, myself, Riz, and Rahul. And you can see Robert Llewellyn there next to the MG4. Yes, MG4 will be launched there at that show. So can't wait to see that one.
Tom, just want to quickly interrupt. There's a comment from Charles asking, are you going to be on any panels at Fully Charged Live? So great time to plug that.
Yeah, good question, Charles. Yes, I will be on two panels on Fully Charged Live. The first one is Tesla losing its advantage, and also another discussion about the Chinese EVs coming, I guess, to Australia and to the Western world. Will they be able to compete with European brands? That's the two panels I'm on. First Tesla one's on Saturday. The Chinese one is on Sunday. And I believe, Riz, you're on a panel too. Is that right?
I believe so as well, but I'll find out the details in the next week or so.
Yep. Yeah,
but we'll be around anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be around looking at things. So come and say hello if you spot us documenting stuff. Yeah, cool. Gents, any other comments you want to bring up for tonight with regards to etiquette? Any other sort of do's and don'ts, pet peeves, so on?
Riz?
I think we've covered things quite well. Rahul, anything else you can think of?
I did think of one other thing that we may have perhaps not thought of, Tom and Riz. You notice people say at petrol pumps who go, don't look at what they're topping up to. They just put the Bowser in, wait till the plug actually clicks, which means your tank is full, right? And then they just go in and pay. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there are people out there with EVs who actually go to a charger, plug in, and don't think about whether they're charging to 80% or 90% or what they need, and just go, you know what, I'm just going to plug in and I'm going to wait until I've got a full charge. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously there's a bit of education that needs to happen around that. I think somebody in the comments just mentioned that, hey, as infrastructure improves, these issues will go away. But I think it's a combination of education and infrastructure meeting somewhere in between.
Yeah, good point, Rahul. I think personally the solution to that really is idle fees. I can't stress this enough. I think for DC chargers, I think you'll learn pretty quickly if you're getting charged for sitting around doing nothing. So Anyone from EV, if you're watching, just put them in, please. Put the idle fees in, and even ChargeFox, if there's anyone around anymore. ChargeFox, yeah, sorry, Rizcon.
Someone did mention apparently Jolt has idle fees.
Yes, you're right. Good.
Yes.
Yeah, great. They sure do in
I
New
think
South
it's
Wales.
$1
Yes.
per minute.
Yep. That's fairly steep, actually. That's like steep as Tesla. So good point,
And
Riz. Thank you.
Jolt is entering the Victorian market, I learned this week, with one of the councils in the Outer East, Knox City Council. They're starting with that, but some of the other discussions I'm having with other councils around Victoria are also saying that Jolt has approached them to set up some charging infrastructure. Obviously, it comes with pretty TV screens, which is always a bonus. But yeah, I think it's good to see them expanding out of New South Wales and South Australia.
Yeah. I think is it Riz, the first 7 kilowatts are free and then you get charged?
I think, Tom, you've used it before. I believe it's 7. Yeah.
So you get 7 kilowatt hours free per day. That's across all their network. It used to be when I first started 7 kilowatt hours at any session. So if you're really cheapskate, you could just keep plugging in and out. But now it's 7 kilowatt hours across the board. So they've clued on. The rates are reasonable. Charge rate's a bit slow, 25 kilowatts, but hey, it's a nice little convenience top up, I guess. Or for apartment buildings who don't have EV chargers on site. I just want to quickly actually bring up a quick point. I know this is a huge topic, so maybe we'll do another one later on this year, but I think AC charging is a different kettle of fish when it comes to idling and sitting around. Like, I'm not as upset if it's a car that's plugged in at an AC charger at a shopping center. I don't know. I think that's reasonable. What do you guys think about that? Is it a different story or is it the same rules apply?
AC, I think it is different. Generally speaking, there are sites where, I guess it depends, right? Like if they're at a site where, like a shopping center, generally people are not gonna camp overnight at a shopping center. So then it's sort of naturally, like, if someone is being a bit of a cheapskate and they're hanging around and getting someone else to pick them up and then driving off somewhere else, then yeah, that's extreme. But generally speaking, I think AC is a little bit different. You're right, Tom.
Yeah, good point. I guess it depends on what your charging needs are. Say if you're going to a movie at a shopping center where the cinemas are, if you're going to be at the shops for a while with kids or whatever, and if you wanted to plug in for say 2-3 hours, but there was another car plugged in there that was say fully charged and still on site, yeah, that would annoy you, I guess, a little bit. But then you wouldn't go to the shopping center with say 10% charge, expecting not to make it home. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too upset about it, but I would just go, hey, maybe this person just needs to learn a little bit of charging etiquette.
Yeah. I think most of us will agree. Shopping center charging is really a convenience thing. Not many of us would rely on that for their regular top up. Some might, obviously, if they live in apartments, but generally speaking, it's kind of, oh, cool, there's a charger there, I might use it for a little while. I think if you're relying on shopping center charging, you really kind of need another solution, personally. Yeah.
Gents, Greg brings up a pretty interesting point. So a couple of new EVs have launched this week, or there's details about them. That's happened today, which is pretty big news. It sort of happened later this evening. So the base model starts at, in most states, drive-away price for a base model or a Funky Cat hatchback electric car with around 310 kilometers of WLTP range is around 45,000. And then there's a rebates and incentives in most other states, which are $3,000 on top of that. So the first batch should be here in April.
Okay. Well, if GWM Aura is watching, we'd love to test drive that, of course. So we'll be in touch. Maybe we should do a special episode on that just to cover all those things we discussed, hey Riz, with regards to specs.
Sure.
Thank you. And Charles says, spot on with AC charging. People shouldn't have to leave halfway through a restaurant meal to unplug their car. Yep, that's fair. And Gaffer, okay, says NRMA seems to have jumped on the maintenance train lately. A lot of these stations that have been dead for months seem to be up and running again. Yay. That's good. Smithy says same rules apply for AC charging. Okay. Slower, so full charge is longer than a movie. Okay. Okay, well, everyone, I think that might be it for tonight. Yeah, so let's. I'll just put one more comment from Peter, and this is something I agree with too. New EVs are interesting, but if they can't supply in volume, who cares? Well, yeah, it's well put. We need them in numbers that people can afford and buy. So good point there, Peter. Thank you. All right, thanks everyone. We might close the poll. Let's have a look. So tonight's question was: if a queue forms at a DC charging station, when do you finish your session? And the winner tonight at 49% is enough for my next stop. At 33%, 80% is the top up for your session. 8% for 90%. Oh, too many percent. And 8% saying they can wait. I paid for this. So, okay. Thank you everyone for voting. We got 159 respondents, so that's a pretty good sample size there. Thank you. Yeah, all right, gents, thank you so much again. And yeah, great to have you on board as always. Riz, thank you.
Thanks for that, Tom. Good to see Rahul and everyone else here tonight, and we learnt a lot from each other around charging. So hopefully we'll have better etiquette at the next road trip. That's
right. Thanks, Rahul.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Riz. Look, really, really good live stream tonight. I thought the comments from the viewers tonight and engaging them tonight was really, really good to try and get their perspective on this as well. So yeah, well done for another great Ludicrous Feed live stream.
Thanks, Rahul. Appreciate that. And thank you, Riz, too, for that comment. Look, I just want to thank all of you actually for contributing tonight. It's so good to hear from different points of views. I'm here to learn as much as you are about what the current trend is in etiquette around EV charging. So it's good to know most of us are actually quite courteous and open-minded when it comes to charging, because we are still in that newish phase. We're not quite fully ramped up yet, so resources are still finite. So we do have to give away a little bit every now and then. So yeah, let's take it easy on the roads and on the charging sites. And if you see any of us, come and say good day, come and wave, and we'll definitely wave back. Definitely chat. All right, everyone. Thank you again for watching. And if you are watching this on replay, don't forget to leave a comment as well if you've got any questions for us. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next Ludicrous Feed Live. Thanks, gents, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. And as always, happy charging. See ya.